So I'm a big, dumb, stupid idiot. I thought I was recording, when in reality I took a picture, like a fucking dumbass that I am. So I'm just gonna quickly go over what I was saying before. I'm making some food here. I'm making pork fried noodles. It's close to what I made on stream last time, but I'm using noodles instead, and it was really good. I made like a hand mixture myself of the sauce and all that other good stuff, and it was really tasty. And I'm gonna try to recreate it and share my recipe so you guys can steal it. So I just started cutting my pork. As I was saying earlier, I'm only having one bag of noodles. If you're only having one bag of noodles, I think like three strip, like little pieces of pork should be enough. You're taking an entire pork chop, I'd say maybe half of that is more than enough for like a one bag of noodles. But if you're gonna do a full pork chop, two bags of noodles, I think. So we're gonna be starting off by cutting our pork chops into small bite-sized pieces. This is just to make it easier to go down, and it also makes it sure it cooks better. And I was saying earlier, it feels weird having a camera on me. Normally, I'm streaming, but it's just me. I'm so used to like looking at my phone to see if there's a chat. You know, I'm expecting my regulars like Roxas or CC or my mod Brian, stuff like that. But no, it's just Iceway. Big lonely Iceway. So one thing that people will immediately notice is that I'm not keeping the fat. The fat, though, is good for many things. If you enjoy pork chop fat, keep it in. By all means, keep it in. But if you're not a fan of it like me, you don't want to eat it, that's fine. But if you ever want to do something else with it, what you can do is you can save it and you can make a pork stock out of it. And how you would make pork stock is that you get all the fatty bits that you just chopped off, get them together, put them in a pan, get them on a nice sizzle with some oil and some butter. Yes, oil and butter. And then you'd fry them up. Not too hot though. You probably only want like a medium low. You want it to sizzle. Then get some water in it after you notice your pork starting to brown. Bring that to a simmer. Then strain out all the pieces because you're still gonna have pieces of pork in there. And of course you can season it if you like. You know, salt, pepper, whatever the hell you want in there. And then yeah, you can make some nice nice pork stock with it. You can actually use that over what I'm gonna be using here, which is chicken stock. Now, chicken stock, of course, I suppose it's chicken, but you don't need it for chicken. Like, sorry, you don't need it for only chicken. All right, next thing, we want our garlic. So, I recommend only using 1 clove of garlic if you're only having 1 bag. If you're eating 2 bags and you have more pork, definitely use 2. I'm only going to be using 1 here because that's all I need. Get a plastic Tupperware bowl. You can use a regular bowl, you can use a Tupperware bowl. Toss your pork right into that. You'll see why later. With your garlic, there's plenty of ways you can do this. I prefer the crushing method where you take your knife, put it on there, hand on top, and then crush it. This helps for many reasons. 1, it opens up the garlic, makes it a bit more fragrant, gets the oil out, and 2, it's much easier to peel and cut. Now, every single situation does not require the crush method. In fact, you do sometimes want the actual whole garlic clove and chop it up like that, but if you're just using it for seasoning or if you're just tossing it in, it's the best way to go for it, in my opinion. So we're gonna start by cutting it up. We want it really small, but nice and thin, small pieces. We're gonna be mincing it, dicing them up, get them all nice and clean. I know my cutting technique isn't the best, but bear with me. Like I said, we want them really nice and small. Maybe only going like a few millimeters over. And if you want to go even smaller, you can. We're just trying to get them a really small piece because we're going to be mixing this in with our pork. Nice. So when you've cut it up, mine's still not the best, but I like my garlic a lot. This is kind of what you want to get. Small pieces. I know they look kind of big. Some of them are, but basically cut them to the size that you want. If you want big clumps of garlic, go right ahead. If you want small, tiny pieces, feel free. If you don't want garlic at all, you don't have to add it. I think that's the beauty of a lot of like Oriental cooking or even cooking with Oriental stuff. There's a lot of freedom. All right, so we're just gonna mix these around. Make sure that you cover up as much surface area of the pork with the garlic. this is important for later. We're gonna grab a bit of oil. Canola works best, but if all you have is olive oil or some other kind of oil, it's fine. You just need some sort of lubricant to kind of smoothen it out and kind of flavor it. We're just gonna put a little bit. I don't do measuring by like cups and stuff. I just go by feel. So if you're not too confident with it, I'd say maybe a tablespoon. Yeah, I'd say maybe about a tablespoon is what you'd want for oil. All right, get it all nice and lathered up. Make sure you keep your garlic on your pork because the next part's important. All right, so I'm making kind of a spicy noodle in a sense. I have my own recipe that I mess with on Tuesday, and I think I have some things I know how to improve on it, but for the most part, this turns out really good. So, first things first, we're gonna grab this stuff. This is hot pepper paste. Hot pepper paste is really good, and it's used in a lot of a lot of spicy food. It's really good. I recommend a teaspoon, not a tablespoon of this stuff. It's really hefty. In fact, even for like one piece of this, it might be too much, but I think one is perfectly fine. I'm gonna pop it open. I'm gonna get a nice slab of it. About that much. See how it's just, it's just one teaspoon. Close up your hot pepper paste because it's very strong. Onion powder, cayenne powder, paprika, black pepper, salt, chili powder, and last but not least, red pepper flakes. Now, what I said before, I still hold true. I don't really go by measurements. I go by feel. This is kind of the point where you kind of want to just go, you want to season it to taste. So, with my chili powder, just going to sprinkle a little in there. Kind of want to cover most of the pieces. Just want to cover it. Don't want to put too much because chili powder doesn't really add a lot of flavor. It's more so just for the spice. Red pepper flakes, a couple shakes of that, not too much. Black pepper, cayenne powder, depending on how tolerant you are of spice. Put as much as you want. I really like my food spicy, so I put a couple shakes of that in, making it a bit more sensitive so you guys can actually see. Paprika, same thing. It's not very spicy. It just adds kind of like a heat to it. So we're just gonna put a little bit in just to cover. Onion powder. Now, what you can do if you're not picky like me, you can just cut onion in there. You can mince it up if you like. I'm not a huge fan of onion. I don't like the texture. It's not my thing. But yeah, that's what you can do. So I'll show you what it looks like inside. It's gonna look a little rank at first because you can see all the powders and things like that. It's also on the bottom, but it turns out great.
This took way too long in order for me to actually talk about it properly, so just mix your pork all around until it's all smooth and perfect. You should know when it's good.
There we go. And your end product should look something kind of like this. It's kind of mushy, kind of red. You'll know if you did a good job with the garlic and the red pepper paste if it smells really, really fragrant and the aroma of the garlic and the red pepper paste is mixed together, but none really feel overbearing or too strong. All right, next thing. So depending on what kind of noodles you use, you're gonna have a different outcome than me. The noodles I'm using are kind of more traditional. These are imported from Japan. I mean, they're sold at a regular store, but they're imported from there. I'll grab them. Itomi goreng noodles. These things are very good, by the way. If you don't have them, get them. Oh, I forgot one thing. So for the mixture, you want soy sauce and you want barbecue sauce. Almost forgot. Stuff's important, man. Adds flavor, adds texture. Really gives it a nice smooth taste. So we're just gonna get a nice teaspoon of that. Cat's screaming in the background. He's also excited, but just 1 teaspoon of each. Just plop that in there and give it a nice mix. Just trying to get off. Ah, there we go. You're also gonna make a mess sometimes. This happens. This is cooking. You feel me? All right. Now that that's actually done. So what I have here, I'll pick you up and I'll show you. So we have 2 pans. This pan here is gonna be cooking our noodles, and this pan here is gonna be cooking our pork. After a while, what you're gonna want to do when you're getting your noodles all done, hold on, let me hold this properly. That's not holding it properly, me. There we go. Okay, so, yeah. You're gonna cook your noodles in here for as long as the box says. Also, my lighting is terrible. Let me hold you this way, I guess. Is this better? It's slightly better. What if I turn that off? Perfect. Hey, look at me. Look at me, I'm perfect. Anyway. You're gonna be putting your noodles in here, cook it for as long as the box says. This is because you don't want to have undercooked noodles, of course. But as soon as your noodles are almost done, I mean almost, not completely, not under, almost done, you're going to flip them over to this pan here where we have our pork cooking. We're going to put in our chicken stock that I have, or chicken broth in this case. And you're going to have it cook in there, and it's going to really thicken the sauce that you have pre-made with the marination that you did. And it turns out really great. It's going to look watery at first, but once you see what's going on, it's going to immediately thicken up and it's going to taste great. So I'll get going to that right now. Alright, so look at my heats. Medium high, medium high. This is what I normally cook at, but you're going to be turning it down real soon. So what you're going to start with, your oil. Get it in the pan. Enough to coat it, but also enough to leave some behind, because we want to make sure that the oil is both hot, but covers the pork instantly. And our other one with the water. I use 2.5 cups. Go with what your gut feeling is. We just want to cover it. We don't want to completely submerge the noodles in the water. We want to cover it just about half, maybe a bit higher. So while our oil heats up, you want to kind of get to that point where it's getting nice and hot, where you can see it starting to contract a bit. In this pan, this is a stainless steel. And we're just going to add our noodles in it. Sorry, our pork. There, does that work? Good enough. Make sure you get everything inside this. It's going to sizzle real loud. Grab as much as you can. And then start separating immediately. These are going to cook quickly. Once they're all separated, we're going to get our noodles going. Save these. You're going to be using them. Grab a spatula, because one, don't use metal in a stainless steel top pot, but also two, there's going to be a lot of oil going around. You want to have your hand as far away from it because, well, it's fucking hot. We're going to turn our heat down a bit. Because we don't want to burn these things, we just want to cook them. Get them nice and tender. Really absorb that marination. Now, one trick you can do is, instead of cooking it right away like me, you can get your sauce ready like in a few hours. Have it marinate for maybe, I'd say 2 to 3 hours. That way, because you're going to be cutting them up small, it's going to get into the meat real quickly. Give them a nice toss. Make sure everyone's coated, make sure everyone's cooking. This is what it should kind of look like. You'll know if your meat's cooking really well if you can start smelling the garlic and the red pepper paste together. It shouldn't smell burnt, and it shouldn't smell like a fucking vampire convention. It should smell really smooth and very fragrant. Use your spatula to cut off any of the excess oil that's gonna... There's gonna be oil on the side. There's nothing you can really do about it. But just keep mixing. Don't stop mixing. You don't want this stuff to burn. With your spoon, this camera's falling. Please stop, camera. You're my only version. So, with your other spoon, you guys can't see it, I'll show you. So with your spoon, or whatever you're using, flip the noodles. You're not going to break them up yet, you're going to flip them. This is why we cover it halfway, so that we can get both sides, and they both start cooking equally. You could put more water if you really want to, but this is what has worked for me. At the end of the day, it's just however you want to cook it, man. We're going to turn down the heat again. This time we're going a really, not fully low. If you have a numbered stove, I have it in between 3 and 4, but from medium low to about low now. Chicken broth. I'm going to do 1 cup. This helps encapsulate the flavor and really smoothens out the sauce. So, I'm just going to pour that in. Give it a nice mix. And now we have it on really low heat, so moving it isn't nearly as much of a priority anymore. Now I will say, your meat will lose the spice by doing this. It makes sense, you're putting liquid in. But now, your meat will still have a bit of the seasoning, it just won't have it on it anymore. But it's going to be all in the sauce, which is what we're really looking for with this. Because your noodles are going to absorb most of it. Okay, your noodles should be breaking up now. You know, they're going through a hard time in their relationship. They need time apart. Just make sure, turn off the heat now because you don't need them on that heat anymore, and just start scooping them in with your noodle, with your mixture. Don't worry about getting noodle water in there. You actually want a little bit in there. You want too much, but you want some in there. This really helps thicken the sauce, so I'm gonna grab 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little teaspoons. Okay, there we go. And then just mix those noodles with your pork. This is what it should look like. At least what I think. This is what it should look like. You see how the noodles immediately begin soaking up those juices? Some things you could add here if you want. You can add you can add like a little, I'd say maybe about a tablespoon. No, yeah, a tablespoon or 2 of butter at room temperature. This will help thicken it up easier and also kind of make it a bit more smoother. This would be the point in time where you add your garnish or your other stuff that shouldn't be seared, like green onions or like parsley or stuff like that. If you want to add that, you feel free to do so. Alrighty. And last thing, we want a bit more soy sauce. Now, I know we have sauce inside the marination, but trust me, you want some in there. Not too much. You don't want to oversaturate the flavor that you'll be getting from this. But it's just enough to add a bit more salt too, but also just like season it everything. And you're just gonna let it sit there. You're not gonna do anything crazy. You're not gonna strain it. Heavens no. But we're gonna keep it on a nice. We're gonna turn up the heat again now. We want this to start evaporating and really, really going into the noodles. We want to bring it to a light boil, nothing too high. Really just move it around. You want to encapsulate the noodles. Now, if yours is a bit too watery, like mine is right now, what you can do is use less chicken stock. So here, it's a bit liquidy. It's going to evaporate some of it, but maybe not all of it. That's fine. You don't need to do that. We're just gonna keep mixing, keep stirring. I know you guys can't see, and I mean, not many people are gonna see this anyway. This is just for people who are curious about what I cook sometimes when I actually try. We just keep stirring nice and slow. Don't gotta do anything crazy. Just keep it sitting there. Now I'm gonna deviate a bit from my original recipe and I'm gonna add some lemon juice. Just a little bit, nothing too much. Like again, our main goal here is to not lose the flavor from what we previously mixed. Otherwise, we might have not done it at all. And this is where we're going to start putting in our seasonings for the bag. So, I'm going to assume that most people eat a lot of instant noodles. And just pour the noodle packet in there. Give it a nice stir. It's not going to get rid of the as much water, but it's still going to add a lot of flavor. And just keep stirring that thing. Make sure that your packet sauce, whatever you use, gets mixed into the water cleanly. Don't want to put it right on the meat, right on the noodles. You want to make sure that you get it right in the broth so that when you start churning it and moving it, it's not just staying on one piece of beef or one piece of noodle. And then we toss in our oil. With this one, we have oil, dried out soy sauce, and hot sauce. Or at least what I think is hot sauce. And I mean, you know you're going to be doing a good job if you start working up a sweat. If your top lip starts sweating, you did a good job. And so I will say, you know, yeah, this is definitely a lot longer than just making instant noodles. But it's more tastier. It tastes so much better. It honestly just encapsulates so much. And honestly, it's one of my favorite ways to eat noodles right now. I love this brand. The brand that I have, I fucking love. They're tasty. But this just made it so much better. Alright, so this is what your noodles start looking like now. See how the sauce is starting to thicken so much? One, the noodle water still contained a lot of the ingredients from the rice noodles, and usually rice noodles are like eggs. Usually egg noodle brand of some kind. And eggs can take a lot of moisture. They can, especially when they're dried out. Even when you boiled them, they weren't fully done. At least I hope they weren't fully done. Because that's what's really going to absorb what we're making here. And just keep moving it. You'll really start to smell what you've made. Nice, creamy, thick noodles with an absolutely incredible aroma to them. I wish I had a better camera angle to show you guys. I really do. But yeah, that's what I'm making here, so I'll get right back to you guys once this is all done, and I'll show you the end product. Alright, so your noodles are done cooking. You're all set to go. Your noodles looking like a fucking snack. Look at that shit. Look how thick that sauce is. Remember how it was before? It was very liquidy and it would almost look like soup. Well, now we have noodles. Now, there's plenty of ways you can eat this. You can have it with some bread. In fact, I think garlic bread would be so fucking incredible with this. But what you can do, put it into a bowl or plate, whichever fits your fancy. Some people like bowls, some people like plates. I am not one to judge. I don't really care. But we're going to get our bowl prepared and just plop it all in there. I'm sorry I cheated. I had to taste. It tastes so good. Oh, it tastes so good. But yeah, that's what your noodles should look like. A nice, I want to say almost red, maybe like a slight orange tinge to them. Your noodles should retain the color of your marination, which was over here. It should retain that color, but definitely have a different taste. And one thing you want to make sure you do, don't be dumb, big idiot like me. Be smarter than me. Be beautiful. Be more handsome. Get all your sauce. Don't leave anything inside that pan. Trust me, this is like essentially your packet for your instant noodles. You don't want to waste everything. You want to take everything. Make sure you clean up after yourself. There's no fucking reason you shouldn't be cleaning up after yourself.
Well, hey, look at that. I have a proper camera. You can see me and you can hear me so cleanly now. But I got chopsticks. I like eating these things with chopsticks, but you really don't have to if you don't want to. This is what it looks like. It looks really good. It looks really thick, juicy. The sauce has just been, I don't want to say fine-tuned, but it's really just melted into the noodles. Look at that. Oh, looks so good. Mix it around for one last time. Now, you can also add anything you want here. If you want to do any final touches, like a bit more soy sauce, if you want to toss in your spring onion, whatever the hell you want to, this is the time you want to do it. Honest to God, this is like the time you want to be doing that stuff because this is right at the end. It's not going to burn. It's not going to singe. But it's going to keep it nice, creamy, yummy. All that good stuff. So we just give it one more mini toss. I say mini toss, but we're just flipping those around. This is what we got. This is our end product. Have a taste. Try to grab some pork with that too. Oh yeah. Oh, that's so good. It's hot, but it's not burn your mouth spicy. It's got that, it's got the heat from the paprika, from the chili powder, but it still has like that mouth tingling sensation from, like, you know, if you like a hot sauce or sriracha, but it's not burn your mouth off, only, you know, masochists eat. It's very good. If you have a friend who's not very good with eating hot food, make him this. You know, maybe just, you know, catch back on a little of the other spices, like, you know, the red chili peppers or the cayenne powder. Honestly, the red pepper paste will probably be enough for them. My partner, love them to bits. They can't really handle a lot of hot food, and they ate this no problem. So, take that as you will. All right. I hope you enjoyed whatever this was. I just kind of made this out of, but this is really good stuff. And this only took me 30 minutes tops, and most of that time was dedicated to me cutting my ingredients. If you do this all beforehand, this could be done in 10 minutes tops. So I hope you enjoy. I'm going to eat this because it's really fucking good. I'll see you all later.